Hi folks. So what's the one big thing you're working on in 2024? Can you remember my January video? When I was a senior pastor, I kept 2 permanent signs in my office on my wall facing me as I sat at my desk. There was one that said, "Christ died for the church, you don't have to." The other was a note taped to my desk. What's the one thing that only I can bring to this local church? Stay balanced, but stay focused on what you in your calling and in your leading must bring. Because if you don't bring it, nobody else will. In every healthy church, people know what they need to bring. The senior pastor, the board. In fact, it makes no sense to me when I see pastors ignore or play down their board. No, there is a critical role that the board and only the board can bring. And without them bringing it, the church will not be healthy. Of course, when a board is playing in an area of the church it shouldn't be, that also badly hurts a church. But go through your list. Do you, do they, do we know what we need to bring? It's getting things put in the right order. And this brings me to something that a few of us just learned a couple of weeks back. Some GHC guys were with me in Nairobi, Kenya, and we had a day's coaching with Oscar Marui, the leader of Nairobi Chapel. Oscar was on fire as he talked with us, unpacking for us both historically and globally where the church was at. Fascinating. And then he casually told us that the church, his and likely yours, were making some major mistakes when it comes to discipleship. I've not known Kenyans or Oscar to be quick to talk about their mistakes. So this caused me to lean in and hear what this wiser global church leader was going to talk about. And he asks us if we were familiar with Teresa of Avila. She was a master of the spiritual life, a master in understanding the soul and the nature of prayer, similar to John of the Cross. And they were or are as theological as Luther and Calvin were in the 16th century. Luther and Calvin tried to make the truth clear. Teresa and John tried to deal honestly and discerningly with the experience of God when it isn't plain or easy. But alongside this, Oscar introduced us to a summary of Teresa of Avila's thinking called Mansions of the Heart by Thomas Ashbrook, subtitled Exploring the 7 Stages of Spiritual Growth, what Teresa of Avila had written on in her interior castle. Oscar's confession, his mistake, was that he and most churches, he suggests, don't go beyond the 3rd stage. We leave our discipleship well short. In fact, we leave our discipleship not even halfway complete. 3rd stage out of 7. And we, GHC pastors and churches, we need to put this in order, folks. Think about COVID and what it showed us about discipleship. Church leaders, board members, key volunteers leaving the church over trivial matters. People not returning to our churches. In fact, 2 out of 5 who left never coming back. Something is found to be very wrong with our discipleship for the church to be as sick as she is. What sort of disciples were we making? Are we making halfway disciples? People, read this book. But even more, let's take the journey ourselves to deepen our union with God. We cannot lead people to where we've not ourselves gone. For 2 decades, GHC was all about being outward focused. I get that. I know what is meant and why. And it is important. It's essential for church health. But it's not programs or events that make you outward focused. Rather, it flows out of the phenomenology of God speaking to us as we begin to live fully in God's love for us. A missiology that flows out of a deepening of our union and life with Christ. Let's take the journey we need to as pastors and preachers to make better known the Christ we better know. If you're interested in next year's coaching time with Oscar, February 2025 in Nairobi, get in touch with us. We'd love to take you.